So I'm being forced to sit in the car while my wife went back into the store because she sent me to go get hot dogs and buns for dinner. So I got the buns, which come 8 in the pack, but the hot dogs were too confusing for me because they come in 6 or 7, and I couldn't figure out the proper ratio of hot dog to bun to buy. So I walked out without hot dogs, and that pissed her off and made her come back out, and she made me sit out here. So I am in the doghouse. No pun intended. Hey, yo, quesadilla Yonders. Welcome to the Brooklyn edition of the Out Yonder. As always, Magic Mike. And today, in the spirit of our Brooklyn edition, I decided to wear a beater to kind of fit into the old school Brooklyn days. Although we didn't call them beaters, we called them guinea tees when I was growing up. But I think, maybe what I look like right now is a gay version of AC/DC. Oh, you think that's funny, do you? Maybe I'll start a tribute band, call it Gay C/DC.
Why not?
You like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Only if I could be the drummer.
It's a possibility. So anyway, in the spirit of doing the Brooklyn edition, I brought on an old school Brooklyn woman. She is OG. Her name is Carmela Caravella, or as I affectionately call her, Ma.
Hey, kid.
How's it going?
Good. How's it going with you?
I'm all right. Are you ready to do some old school Brooklyn stuff?
Why not?
All right. So I didn't prepare her. I didn't tell her what we were going to talk about today, so she may be shocked. But
Nothing you ever do shocks me.
all right. So we'll see. So we're going to talk about old days growing up.
Okay.
All right. So Dad was in the mafia.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So how was that?
Serious at times, and then there was funny times.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you want me to tell you about the funny time.
Well, you can tell us about anything you want.
Well, a
A Goomba.
Goomba was coming to the house.
Explain the Goomba for everybody who's not from
A
Brooklyn.
Goomba is an Italian guy. That means he's made man. He's important. You don't want to mess with him. You talk nice to him. But he came in my house, and Aunt Stella was mopping the floor.
Yeah.
And he walked on it. So she turned around and hit him with the mop. So he says, "You can't hit him with the mop." So he turned around and he says, "I'll shoot her." So I said, "Don't shoot my sister." And it was, I can say his name because he passed.
You don't have to. You don't have to say anything.
It's just an initial, JT.
We'll get into it later.
Yeah.
Get into it later. I think I know who you're referring to. But we had
Yeah, you
all
do.
these guys hanging around the house when I was a kid. So there was Uncle Carmine and Uncle Tommy and Uncle Bean and Vinny and all these guys around.
Yeah.
And then, and then they were always hanging around. They were always there. And then all of a sudden I didn't see them anymore. And I would ask you, like, what happened to these guys? And you would tell me, oh, they went away to school.
They went to college.
So they went away to college. So what did going away to college mean? What did that mean when you were talking to us?
When they said you went to college, they were either doing time or they were dead. They were gone.
They were gone, Jimmy.
They were gone.
And there's nothing you can do about it.
No.
We're not even kidding. Like when I was growing up, you watched
no.
Goodfellas, Sopranos. That was like my everyday life in the house.
That was real.
So like you had to hold down the straight job while Dad was doing this thing. But there were days when, like, nobody was there to watch me. I couldn't be watched by anybody. So I would go on the job with him. So I would like be spending my days as a kid going to the housing projects in Coney Island while he was getting the daily number. Or I was sitting in a social club with these guys, watching them play pinochle all day or shooting pool, or all sorts of stuff that I was watching as a kid, observing.
Yeah.
So how did you feel about that? Like when you had to work and I was out in the street with Dad running,
I wasn't crazy about it, but the money was good. I can't lie about that. So it was
That's
better
honest.
than a babysitter.
All right, good.
And then there was a time when, Joey was wild, your brother. And Donnie, Uncle Donnie, as we referred to him, told him to go in the club. The old men were playing a high-stake poker game. He says, "I want you to run in the club and just take all the money off the table and run away." And Joey did. And all these guys come running out of the club chasing Joey.
Yeah, these guys were...
They were
something else,
serious.
because like when I used to hang around them, they were all like...
They were nice.
They were nice guys, and then I found out later on as I got in life, these guys were like stone cold assassins, and some of them went on to be bosses of the families.
Yes, they did.
So it was...
Yes, they did.
It was wild, but it was a wild time. Like, so like I remember like being with Dad and like he would wake me up on a Sunday morning and like take me down to the Bowery, and like
Yes.
we'd go to a store, a clothing store, and he'd be just like, "Go pick out a suit." And whatever suit I wanted, we walked out with. Or we would go to the candy store, and he was like, "You want some baseball cards?" So I was like, "Yeah."
Take what you
And he'd
want.
take the whole box of baseball cards. And we'd take the whole, "You want some candy?" Yeah, he would take the whole box of candy. And I thought I got the greatest dad in the world. I had no idea what was
Let
going
me
on.
ask you a question. That never bothered you that you were able to do
I
that?
don't think I understood. I just thought my dad. I didn't know he was like. I didn't know he was collecting his vig that way.
Yes.
The guy didn't have any money. All right, I'm gonna take a suit.
Well,
I'm
you
gonna
got
take this.
that.
I'm gonna take
I
that.
got diamonds.
Yeah, I had no idea. I had no idea as a kid.
Well, I didn't know the diamonds were from either. I thought I actually was getting gifts.
Right.
Well, as you see, I wear no jewelry now. I just wear a holy little rope here.
Yeah. I don't have any jewelry. I don't wear that stuff anymore either. I was gonna get all decked out in gold, but I actually don't own any
You
gold.
don't own any.
No,
I could have
so-
borrowed some for you. I still have friends.
So we were just talking about the vig. So I'm gonna
What's
bring
the vig?
something up because I think this is the most compelling thing that happened to me. So you and Dad got divorced when I was about 15, 16.
Right.
Right? And he just kind of disappeared. He just kind of went off the grid for a couple of years. But he still had people on the street that owed him money.
Right.
You went out and collected the vig for a couple of
I
years.
collected the vig, so I became the gumada. Really, not the gumada. Really is
And these
not.
guys, you went out and went after these guys, and they paid you.
Oh yeah, they were scared of me. I told them I had a gun in my pocketbook, which I never did, and candy and gum and stuff. But the thing is, and gumada is the wrong term. That means you're a tramp. That means you're somebody's cheating
I think
with
it's
somebody.
is it like a girlfriend of a
Right,
a guy.
a mobster. Yeah,
right?
they cheating. But I was like, what do you call it? Like, like Bonnie and Clyde kind of thing.
Yeah.
I was Bonnie.
So you didn't mind going out there collecting the vig,
Didn't bother me at all because he told me to keep it.
right? Oh, so you still were in contact with him. He told you to do that.
He told me keep it and use it for the kids.
And these guys just paid, and then eventually they just figured out he wasn't
Yeah,
coming back
they
anymore.
said one guy said to me, well, I don't know if I should say that on the camera.
Well, I don't think you have to name any names, but you can say the conversation. Go ahead.
The conversation said, well, if you sleep with me, I'll keep paying with you. And I said, you'll die first.
You're a trip lady.
So I told Dad, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done. He goes, well, what happened? So I told him, and of course, your father has his own ideas. He says, you could have given him a little pinch here and there. I said,
What?
let him come and pinch you.
What does that even mean?
But that was your dad. But
Yeah.
I was used to him. And, I still talk to him. I actually spoke to him this morning.
Yeah.
To teach him how to make escarole.
You guys still talk about how to make escarole.
Yeah, because he
What?
keeps forgetting. And I says, how many times I can tell you the same thing? He goes, I forget. And you're so good at it. I said, yeah, I'm good at it. You're right.
Well, it's good that you guys still talk.
Oh, yeah. He's my best friend. I'm not going to lie.
That's awesome.
We talk about books.
Talk about the old times.
Yeah, we talk. No, we never talk about the old.
Yeah, I want to ask you another question. This might be a good story.
Sure.
Because everybody's so fascinated with this kind of stuff. But you actually knew Henry Hill, right? You knew Henry Hill?
Absolutely. And he was I won't say the name, but he was in a family bridal party.
Right.
One of our family from your dad's side. He was in the bridal party. I knew Henry. Dad knew Henry. They grew up together, kind of, with Uncle Donnie. And they hated him. And they beat the hell out of him every chance they got.
They beat the hell out of Henry Hill every time.
Every chance they got. He was just a jerk. I mean, yeah, I know he was portrayed like... When I saw the movie, and I said, in his dreams, like Ray Liotta.
Right.
Right, yeah, you thought you looked like Ray Liotta. He was ugly.
Dad said the same kind of things, that the movie is like his stature in the thing was way overblown.
Way overdone. And when his wife is going like this, Karen, that she gets money this big. I knew Karen. She was a Jewish girl from over there by Coney Island. She wished she had that much money. I had more money than her.
They should make a movie about you.
You know
Maybe
how
I
many
will.
people?
Maybe I'll write it.
Maybe you know how many people said that?
Yeah.
What? So my niece Suzanne said to me, Suzanne, hi Suzanne, because she's watching.
Hi, Suzanne.
Anyway, she said, you should write a book. The stories you tell, she said, they can't be real. I said, I'll be honest with you. Any story I tell you is not a lie. It's not a lie. It's real. It happened.
There was a lot of crazy stuff around the house.
I mean, we had a good friend, and he disappeared. and he had a gold tooth.
Right.
And then one day they found his car, and all they found was the tooth. And
Is that like a message, like the Luca Brazzi fish with the tooth?
Yeah, he was
sitting in
gone,
it?
but he was dead.
He was. I like that you keep saying that. You keep referring like, because that's like, he was gone, Jimmy,
That's
and there's
it.
nothing you could do about it.
Nothing you could do. Not a thing. Not a thing.
What a trip! What a fascinating, interesting ride
Well,
we've had.
I had what a lot of people don't understand, like these street guys and everything. They had such total respect for me that even when your dad,
Well, they didn't want you collecting big from them.
I would know if I collected big, I would have had to give it to them. But anyway, they were mad at Dad when we broke up,
Yeah.
and they came to me and said, "You want us to break his knees? You want us to break his neck?" I said, "Go break your own neck. You're the reason he's like this." But I mean, as I said, they were respectful.
So it
to
doesn't
me.
sound like you regret anything. Sounds like that was all
No.
just a fun ride.
But I was working. I was
Right.
working legitimately, and I loved what I was doing. So I didn't get too much involved in only what your dad told me.
Right.
Like something would happen, and he would say, "You know what happened?" No, I said, "I can't imagine." But he would tell me a whole story, and then I go, "I don't want to hear that." You like say, "Okay, that's what he does. That's what he likes."
Right.
But he says today, as you know, your dad graduated from St. John's
Right.
with a 3.8. He was in a class where, Chrissy Wellen and the whole basketball team from St. John's.
Okay.
He was in a class with them.
Right.
And I said, "Didn't that show you something?" He goes, he gives us his answer.
You might be divulging more information than you should, because there was great big college basketball mafia scandals back in those days.
I didn't know
So
about
maybe
him.
you shouldn't be dropping names.
No.
Saying
That's
that was
who he went to
aggressive.
school with. That's
Yeah.
what I was saying.
Yeah.
That's who he was.
There was a lot of that stuff going on back in the day.
No, he said it didn't impress him. When he was in school, he was in school.
Well, maybe that's what
loved
he
it.
was doing there.
Oh, I never thought about it that way. Probably. You're probably right.
Right. So let's not put. I like Chris Mullen. He's the coach of St. John's now. So
I
don't.
love him. I met him.
Yeah.
And I thought he was great. I met Patrick Ewing.
That's awesome.
He stood next to me, and he went like this because he tapped me on my head, because my head was underneath his belt.
Wow.
And I went, "Oh my God!" He was playing for Georgetown.
Right. I remember.
So I got to see a lot of things, and that's what impressed me. Some of the nicer things I saw.
Well, of course, that's all sexy and romantic, but there's
Oh,
the
hell yeah.
downside to all that stuff, which we know about and we won't talk about.
No.
But so you had a fun ride. You enjoyed it.
I did.
All right.
I had a lot of friends,
Yeah.
which
It was
they mysteriously did.
It was a strange life for me. I kind of didn't want to be part of it.
Well,
walked
he
away from it,
kind
and
of
it just
told
kinda moved in a
everybody
different
that
direction.
he worked in a pharmacy. He was the manager. So we accepted it at the time. Maybe we shouldn't have, but we did.
Well, I was a kid. I didn't know any better.
You were a kid, you didn't know any better. And your brother knew better.
Well, we'll leave that for another day.
Yeah, but
All right.
Joey's funny. He's funny. He's got stories. I want to hear your stories.
All right. Well, anything else you want to put on the table? Any other interesting, fun stories before we wrap up here?
Not really.
All right.
I mean, you know.
Well, we may get some feedback on this show, and if they have some follow-up questions, maybe we'll bring you back on one day.
Absolutely.
Talk about this again. And that was good, but thank you for sharing that stuff with us. I'm glad you were frank about talking about that stuff. I wasn't
I
sure how
have
you
no
were going to
problem
react.
with it
Cool.
because it was true. It's reality, and you can't make it go away.
No, you do your own Mob Wives show.
I watch those Mob Wives show, and I go, they're idiots. They're just foul-mouthed people
Right.
that they wish their uncle from 100 years ago was a mobster.
Right. Well,
What was that one what's her name?
I don't know. I don't watch that stuff.
Oh.
I don't watch anything. I try and stay away from that stuff.
If I say it, everybody will know. She
Nah,
had big lips.
Yeah, but doesn't
I
matter.
need a drink.
Yeah, take a drink. I'm going to wrap up. But thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
And I hope that was enjoyable for everybody. And on a side note, before we wrap up, I want to put a little thing out there. So today my agent called me, and I have an audition for the new Anne Hathaway movie. And I have not auditioned for about 2 years since this cancer thing happened to me. So I'll put myself back out there, and we'll see what happens. Everybody wish me luck, and I'll keep you informed. We'll see what's going on.
Break a leg.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And as always, if you have any questions, comments, would like to be a guest on the Out Yonder, email me at toywmm@gmail.com. That is the initials for the Out Yonder with Magic Mike at gmail.com. Friend me, follow me, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Check out my IMDb page. And as always, click on this handsome guy up here to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for tuning in once again, and we'll see you next week. Peace.
Nice job.
Thank you.